The views, thoughts, and expressions of the show are purely satire and do not reflect the host's employer or any associated parties pertaining to the hosts. This is a joke of a show. Do not take this show serious. We are idiots.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. I don't know if it's afternoon where you are. That's just what I'm going to say because I'm a little bit wine drunk and I'm hanging out with Copper. So I'm just wine drunk and happy at this point.
Look at you.
But, hey, you could
I want to get you a bit wasted.
Listen,
What?
we'll get into that. Anyway,
Listen, I have until this Tuesday that I can finally drink again.
sir,
Okay.
you're interrupting my intro and it's rude.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyway, thank you for listening to one of the first episodes that I've been on this entire season. I've been taking a little bit of a break. Got a lot going on in my personal life, so recording and doing all this just a little bit too stressful. So thank you so much for joining in on one of the first episodes I've hosted this season. We are going down the rabbit hole. We've been joined today by Uncle Copper, everybody's favorite internet cowboy.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've just been hanging out, chilling, chit-chatting. We basically have just been hanging out for the past 20 minutes catching up, and then I realized that we've been
Pretty much.
recording this whole time, and when Zaga goes to edit this, he's going to yell at us. So that's
Hey, you know what? Hold on. Throw that as like a little extra on the side.
yeah, we can just
That'll
edit
be like a
it
little
out and make
extra.
TikToks.
Wait, say again.
We could edit it out and make TikToks.
Yeah, you can throw TikToks in there, or what I would probably do is like even as like a little teaser. It's not like an outtakes thing, but it's like a off-camera thing or whatever. Just like little things like that.
Yeah, like outtakes and
Yeah.
behind the scenes.
I've been excited for this episode because when Zaga originally brought it up, he was like, it would be really cool to have like both of you on here, especially because like both of you being military and stuff like that. Number one, it's the first episode that you and I have done, which I was excited about, because as some of you know, some of you might not, the whole reason why I'm here is because of Ellie. So Ellie is my homegirl who I've known for, I want to say,
I met you, so I got married in
something years now.
2016, and I met you in the
8-something years
summer
now.
of 2017, yeah.
Yep, 8-something years now. And out of those 8 years, especially when I moved to Washington, there were a lot of people that kind of forgot I existed, but did. But Ellie, throughout all the dumb shit,
All the dumb shit.
has always been like this. I love this girl more than life itself. And it was funny because I don't know if you remember this, when one of the first days that I went to Washington State Patrol Academy, and I was like shaking and shit, and all I get is a Snapchat that just goes, "Good luck, you got this." And I literally saw that right before I walked inside. I was like, you know what, everything will be okay. And then
And it was fine, wasn't it?
and it was fine, yeah. And that's a whole nother story.
Okay, well, I mean, that finished up fairly decently, didn't it? I don't want to air your personal shit, but
Oh, you're not airing out personal. It's just that I haven't talked about it yet. It was something to where like I left because, and it's weird because I've never really like quit anything.
yeah, because I don't even really know what happened too much with that situation. All I knew is you were going, and then I assumed you graduated.
Right. So to make a long story short, I, for the first time in my life, had thrown myself into something that just wasn't for me, and had to come to terms with the fact that it wasn't quitting, it was reevaluating. And one of my TAC officers, who I'll keep her name private, but one of my TAC officers, who absolutely outstanding mentor, just a badass lady. I remember when I told her, man, my wits were drawn from the program, so on and so forth. She literally goes, "All right, come here, sit down. What's wrong?" I kind of explained all that. She goes, "I don't think you're quitting at all. You're reevaluating. Like you've done great since you got here. I heard nothing but good things from your field time."
So it's not
You know,
like you were
you
doing shitty, and then you were just like,
No.
I'm not even going to finish this stupid.
No. I mean, it was funny because I remember my TAC officer even being like, "You are one of the last ones who we think would go anywhere." But it's long story short for me, it was like, because I went through basic training in Fort Benning when I was like a dumbass 20-year-old kid.
Right.
And not once did the thought of quitting ever like enter my brain.
But I think
And
our
from-
situations in those instances were pretty similar. Like the military, I know for me at least, it was kind of like my only option. So it was graduate boot camp or fucking be homeless and starve. Like,
I wouldn't say it was that one for me. It was more just I wanted it so bad that
right.
quitting wasn't an option. Like I could have sat there getting fucking tortured.
Right.
And
we
I
were
still
young
wouldn't have
back
quit.
then, so like nothing hurt.
Yeah. No. You thought it hurt.
And then
It didn't
hurt.
that bad. Yeah,
I
no.
get back pain from doing sit-ups now. Like my spine gets all fucked up. It hurts.
That's why I work my core so much, so that my back can hurt maybe a little.
That's why I started doing yoga.
It
It's all
still ain't
core.
working. It still ain't working. My back hurts all the goddamn time.
Your back. Every time I move, it's like snap, crackle, pop. My neck.
Oh no, I'm not saying other things don't hurt. I'm just saying my back hurts the worst 9 times out of 10. But yeah, so long story short, so I left to in essence pursue fire and EMT. That in Washington was a bit more of a longer process than I was under the impression of. However, being in that spot of, okay, well, what do I do now? That's when I started doing TikTok as a creative outlet, which then blew up, which then led to the impact that I've had on people and this and this and that and everything that's come since then. And it ain't all been sunshine and rainbows, but it's something that I literally told myself years ago was like, dude, voice acting, this and this and that. Yes, that would be cool. It's never going to fucking happen. So...
Not with that attitude, apparently.
But, then all of a sudden those things started becoming and have become, a possibility and a future and an opportunity. So it's like, all right. So I don't regret any of my time with them at all. It taught me some awesome lessons. I had some awesome experiences too, and I met some awesome people. Number one being like the trooper who I rode with the most is like one of my best mentors, one of my closest friends. Like that man has taught me so much. And, I'd go to the wall for him any day of the week. But yeah, so long story short, that's how all that wrapped up. But the fun thing that I was looking forward to with this is that you and I, A, just an episode with you and I, but B, both of us having that military background, being able to kind of get into certain things, which actually reminds me, for those of y'all who saw me do this on the live, you might remember this, but you actually might get a kick out of this.
Oh my God, wait, you sent me pictures of this.
Yes.
Oh, it looks so
So-
freaking dope.
Yep. So I got,
For all of the listeners too. So he's holding up a helmet with it has the, whatchamacallit, for the
Which part?
right? Like the thing on the front.
So
You
the rhino
explain
mount-
it. You do it better.
Yes.
I had no
Yeah.
idea what this was when he sent me pictures of
So
it. I
long
was
story
like,
short,
why are you showing
this
me
is-
this weird hat?
So this is the rhino mount that night vision goes on. This is the arm that you can put your night vision into. I like to have one of these of my own. And essentially what happens is that your night vision will, in essence, go inside this and come down over your eyes. You can adjust this to whatever level you want and then flip your nods up. As much as this should come to you when you get the night vision issued, keyword should, that doesn't always happen. So I always grab one of these. On this side, you got our company motto. And then on this side, it's not the Zap number. But in essence, it's like
It's an identifier, though, right?
Essentially it's company, platoon, and then position within the platoon. So all that, and then as a team leader, there's all that. What I really want to grab next for this, and also all painted by me. Velcro is all me. Arc rails I threw on here, which I have to get replacement bolts for because these work, but they're not ideal. And then I want to get one of the TNVC, the night vision company, little things here on the back because that counterweight pouch with the batteries on here
That'll even
helps so it helps so much with it not doing this shit whenever it's on your head. But I figured you'd get a kick out of this, and then people who are watching this who also catch my lies will be like,
You never showed us the helmet again. What did you do with it?
So funny story too. This is the difference between Air Force and Army because with Air Force intel. Don't get me wrong. I'm a gun girl. I have all kinds of awards for my shooting skills. I was the youngest person in my rifle league to make sharpshooter in less than a year. So like
Nice.
I know my way around a rifle. I know my way around guns. It's that shit that I have no clue. Like if you show me like those fancy telescope Skypes or sights, I know what those are. I know how to use those. I don't know how to use night vision. I don't know what any of that shit means. I know that I had no idea you didn't get all that issued to you. Bamboozled me. Also,
No. You should. You should get it issued. However, that doesn't always happen. So
yeah,
I like to bring my own shit.
Ever heard of the phrase "good enough for government work"?
Good enough for government work. Yeah. So
fuck them.
This is an issued helmet, but it's just an issued helmet that
wait.
I bought on my own. Yeah.
Is that not like you don't have a regulation or anything like that? Like you could wear that in like while on duty?
It depends on the unit. So like for example, like with my unit, like my high cut helmet that I have, with my unit, that's fine.
Okay.
At certain training ops we've been to, that's fine. But oddly enough, they just put out the whole thing with when we're going to JRTC later this year.
Why are you going to J-Rock?
Because that's where they want us, honey.
But they're fucking posers. I fuck with them every time I see them because it's so much.
Oh, in Fort Polk,
fun.
Louisiana?
No, just J-Rock in general. All the J-Rock.
J-Rock or JRT? I'm talking about Fort Polk, Louisiana, honey.
What the fuck is that?
Joint Readiness Training Center. It's the massive. Listen,
is this an Army thing?
yes, dear. It's not.
And I don't
Just realize exactly.
Why the fuck would I know about that?
It's a 5-week-long field op that's going to suck.
I'm sorry. So that's
all right.
5 weeks of no recording for you then coming up.
I got to no date so I can pencil it in. So
No.
yell at
No. Well, oh yeah, because I won't be able to record this. I'm going to try to have means of recording things while I'm there. Not even just for content. I also like to record when me and my guys do certain things so that we can kind of go back after in the after action report. And I've done it before where I'll be like, hey bro, come see this. All right. I've noticed every time, like when you hop in and out the truck, you're doing this, I'm doing this. What if we did this or put this here and there to make that a ton easier? And I do that all the time. Even same thing with shooting. Like when I film myself shooting for like qual and stuff like that, it's not just for footage. A lot of times I do it for footage so that years from now when I'm an old broken bastard and I can't do this anymore, I have something to look back on. But it's also a matter of I'll look and I'll be like, dude, why do I keep doing that? And I'll like critique myself as far as like, okay, here's what I'm doing wrong. Here's what I'm doing right, so on and so forth.
I used to do the same thing because I used to make my dad take pictures of me on my league. I was like, especially when I was doing like prone stances and or standing or shooting standing up, because those you have to be like so meticulous on like your stance and everything.
Yep. Standing unsupported is one of the biggest ones. You gotta really work that.
Oddly enough, though, it was my best one.
Oh, really?
That was my highest score. And
did y'all do like the bladed stance and then like have your hand like tuck that elbow in and essentially like form the cradle right here kind of thing?
Yep. Except I have an extremely short torso and very wide hips. So all I have to do is hook my elbow into my hip bone and it creates the perfect little perch.
You got your own little hip bipod.
I got my own little hip tripod and I'm just like, pew, pew.
Nice. Yeah, I finally, thank God, got a slot for squad designated marksman.
Dude, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, so I'll be going to that school a little bit later this year.
I wanted to go to marksman school, but they wouldn't send me because fucking Intel, it wasn't like job requirement.
What do you get?
There was no way I could bullshit my way. Because I used to
This will enhance the capabilities of the force multiplication of our unit in the field environment, granted certain conditions of...
No, but literally, though, I used to do that all the time because I used to get bored. Like, I'm an intel analyst. There's only so much I can look up about a country before it's just, like, current events. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, like, I would just, like, bullshit my way into going to all these certification classes.
I mean, hey, if you can run it, you can run it. Like,
and then I would just like bank all of the fucking BAH that they would give us.
Yeah.
I used
That'd be
to,
it on TDY.
anything over 14
Mhm.
days, I used to try and get into. But anytime I went in for a promotion, my binder.
This class is 10 days. Nope, fuck off.
Nope, it's not gonna. Nope.
Nope.
It needs to be
Right.
at least 2 weeks. Now we're my
Mhm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
I used to do that though. It was hilarious.
Nice.
And then people wonder why I ranked up so fast, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm bored.
Uh,
I looked it on paper.
Actually, I'm up for E6 board as of right now.
You're gonna get
Yeah.
it. You'll be fine. If you need to
I'm
go
happy
over
about
board questions, let me know.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And well, it's weird because like I could have made E6 in the prior unit I was with, but the problem is that I knew I was never going to be able to reclass
Yeah.
as a 6. So, but no, I'm super. It's weird. I'm stoked about it, and at the same time, it's hard because it's like I like being an E5. I like being a sergeant because I like
E5
being
mafia.
there. Yeah, kind of the E5 mafia, but for me, it's I like being right next to my boys doing
Yeah.
things.
And as soon as
No.
you hit E6, you're gonna get thrown on desk duty, my guy.
It depends. I mean, like,
If you
for-
fight
I mean,
tooth and nail not to.
yeah. I mean, like, because it all depends on what you're doing. Like, if you're on a QRF team, there needs to be an E6 who's the QRF team leader, where you're going out and doing things with the boys and all that. But
That's
I didn't like even for this rotation of JRTC, they were going to have me in the TCC when I was originally a gunner because I was a dismount this past summer, and I love that shit.
I don't mean to
Dismount
laugh,
team.
but I just realized the only people that are basically going to understand the first half of this episode are any veterans that we have listening, because nobody's going to understand our acronym.
Possibly.
Tony's going to be going through this and be like, what the
When we were
guys
in
talk
the
about?
field, when we were on a big field exercise last year, I was a team leader of all the dudes that would get out the truck and go do things and then come back. Now
So
I'm a
this is-
gunner, which
you
means
just
I'm
had
in
a
the middle.
bunch of people doing all of the bidding while he sat on his ass.
No, I was, heck no. That's what I'm saying is that, like, that's why I loved being an E5 because it wasn't like, hey, go do this. It's, no, let's go do this. And I would go and I would move with them. And I love that. And they were going to have me in the TCC where I'm basically sitting there in the truck commander seat, like, so the passenger seat, so if you're looking at the truck, driver's over here, passengers over here, and then you got boys in the back. I was going to be stuck over here just with a monitor going over things, not being able to hop out the truck and go do things, and it was going to drive me crazy. Thank you, Mama.
Oh, hi, Mama Copper.
Ellie says hi.
Are you?
Oh, sorry. We're doing, no, we're just recording a podcast episode. Yes. Here, hold on.
So does Mama Copper want to
Yeah.
order me takeout? I'm hungry. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. So what is your podcast about?
This episode, it's basically just your son and I catching up on military stuff. But
cool.
typically, we go down the rabbit hole on different conspiracies.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
You have no idea how happy you just made everybody that you just
Why?
stopped it. Because people love you.
People do
Love you.
love
Well,
it.
they love me. Granted, they should, but
Thank you. Just trying to do my best to help him.
Listen, you're doing a great job. You're doing more than I think any other mother I know of would do. So props to you. And you raised a great kid. So there's that.
He is a good kid. He is a good kid. All right, I'm going to give you back to him because I think he's figured out what he wants.
what did I say? Chicken
I don't know. What did you say?
marsala.
Chicken
Jeez.
marsala.
I didn't know we were ordering takeout. I'm sorry. I love you. I didn't know we were ordering
I didn't
takeout.
know it either. We were going to try to go there, but they can't get us until 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha. Thank you, Mom. I love you. Chicken marsala. See, here's the thing: is that
First time
everybody-
ever talked to Mama Copper.
Huh?
That's the first time I've ever talked to Mama Copper.
I know, and I tell her about you all the time, and it's funny because not for nothing, but a lot of people think they have the best mom in the world, as do I. The difference is that most people
Don't have
Oh.
Mama Copper.
most people don't have mom cover. No, everybody who thinks their mama is the best, your mama is the best for you. I just have the best mama in my world. So on the planet.
She's your momager. She's like
She-
Kardashian's mom. But
Honey,
has
she's
morals.
it's funny because when people ask me, they're like, hey, so where do you want to see this all go? I'm like, I want to blow up so that I can literally get her and my dad a house wherever the heck they want to go. Tell her that she don't ever got to work again unless she wants to. Angel hair, I guess. Thank you, Mama.
Linguini.
Linguini. Linguini's fun.
Farm.
I didn't know that. Ellie goes extra
Farm.
But yeah, that's the big thing for me is essentially like just make this blow up so much so that I can pretty much take care of her and my dad so that they don't ever got to work ever again if they don't want to.
Well, I think your parents too, like your parents are, and this is just coming from like a place of millennialism and everybody had shitty parents growing up. But I think you were one of the rare few who got to experience like that white picket fence, like mom and dad love me kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like obviously like everybody's had their issues with their parents, but like yours have always been pretty true to who they are.
Yeah, I mean my story is a whole different thing, but I will say that with my mom and my dad, I always had a great example of, number one, how a man ought to love on his lady. And my dad's not as like poetic and all that as I am. My dad is very soft-spoken at the same time. No man has ever made me laugh as hard as my dad can.
Again, your dad is that stereotypical like blue collar.
Yes,
Okay.
my dad is very much the
At 5 a.m.
stereotypical.
on weekends, like ready to do something.
That is my dad, and my dad. I still have yet to rival his work ethic, I think, but he definitely taught me how to be a good man and how to work hard and how you should love the person that you love. And my mother kind of always taught me on the other side of that what I guess kind of like the template of like, listen, is this something that, my mom would get shitty at my dad about or do this and that to my dad? No? Okay, there's a problem.
Right.
As much as I've been in toxic relationships, that's kind of why I've had toxic relationships, but pretty much after I saw the first bit of toxicity, I generally knew like, okay, time to start.
Yeah, you're pretty good at recognizing the bullshit before it goes too far.
Right.
At least from what I understand of you and your relationships.
Right. Now, that being said, I'm not saying that every person I broke up with was because it was toxic, but
sometimes
when that was
work out.
Yeah, sometimes shit just doesn't work out. But when it was something that was toxic and stuff like that, a lot of it was like, listen, I know damn well this ain't how this is supposed to go.
Right.
But
which is
anyway.
awesome because I know for at least my experience, I'm a dumbass and don't realize that shit until at least a year in.
No, I wouldn't say you're a dumbass. And I think the problem is that, and I'm seeing this more and more with a lot of the women in my life. I think
Women
it's
in
just
general, I think, honestly, because I think you know where
yes.
you're going with this.
It's just, and it's hard because I understand that my perspective is, number one, as a male, number two, as a different situation from theirs, and an entirely different this and this and that. But I've noticed that there is a lot of that, like, honey, does this and this and this sound right? No. Then why are you still in, it's the I know. And it's like, no, baby, not the I know.
Well,
and not.
So I think what you're seeing is how women have always been and always settled for. Because
Yes.
a lot of the time, what's happening is, like, you got to realize, like, as women, we're told every day how we should look, how we should dress, how we should feel. And I know you know all this, but, like, the things that you get upset about, because you get upset about, like, he made her open the door by herself. He made her take out the trash. She has to
Hold
be
on.
her own. No,
Hold on.
like, that's an exaggeration. But I'm right. You get mad about, like, not
Listen. I understand I'm a different breed, but it is not uncommon where you'll see. We'll be out in public, and I'll literally watch a random couple, and I'll see like him be like, "No, bitch, what?" And I'll be like, "You better watch how you talk to your fucking lady."
Ooh, if Tony ever came at me with that one time, and it never happened again because what I did might get me thrown in jail. However,
right now, granted, it is equal because if I see some woman who's like yelling at her man like, "You stupid fucking this and this and this," I'm gonna be like, "Bubba, don't let me tell you what to do," but that seems like somebody's problem. Don't gotta be your problem.
That seems like a problem for somebody else, maybe the police.
Yeah, somebody's problem's not about to be mine.
Oh, I love that fucking song. What the fuck?
It's funny because Carly introduced me to that song, and now like every time I'm in the car with her or something like that when we go on our trips or whatever.
Carly, I love you, but you're a little obsessy spaghetti.
What, over that song?
No.
Oh, I'm like, what are we obsessed about? No, she's a sweet girl.
100%.
But
we love our Carly. Shout out to Carly. Her and one of our other wonderful from day one fans are in charge of actually our social media posts. So shout out to them for getting us out there and for recognizing us for the wonderful humans we are.
Yeah, oh, you mean y'all? I don't think you meant me, right? Like
the fuck you talking
weirdo.
about?
I'm a fucking weirdo.
All right, well you know what?
Wonderful human beings that we are. Anyway, all right. So we just got off on a whole other tangent again.
Oh, 100%. Because
100%.
listen, everybody knows that this is what was going to happen if they put the two.
Oh, hands down. Oh, hands down. Hands down. I guarantee you, Zaga's sitting downstairs like, I'm going to have to give it at least the first half hour. They're going to go through this and this and this. And then we might actually get to down the rabbit hole type shit. And then I'm going to have to edit that. And then I'm going to...
He's gonna be watching this and be like, Mama Copper, why? It's like 5 minutes.
Why? We love you, but why? So anyway, so long story short. So big reason why I was excited to do this was, one, to have you and I actually have an episode together. Number two, to have it be on the subject matter of it, especially with both of us being military, because even outside military, you and I both like that shit. It's one thing that we've always bonded over was the paranormal, true crime, conspiracy, this and that kind of thing.
Yep.
And then the military aspect of it, because the funny thing is that even on the paranormal side, you and I have both had experiences on the paranormal side while on duty, and it's trip. And that's why you were talking about how you were watching Ancient Aliens prior to all this.
I was preparing. I was doing
You were
research.
preparing. There's another, I think I told you about this. When I was over last time, bedtime stories.
Yeah.
So that channel, and then there's also wartime stories.
I gotta get better about my YouTube channels, dude. I get sucked into the Netflix.
I know. But two of my favorite YouTube channels, whether I sit there and watch them or I listen to them in the background like a podcast, is Bedtime Stories and Wartime Stories. Bedtime Stories pretty much covers like cryptid, true crime, ghosts, aliens, paranormal, this and this and that, a whole bunch of different stuff. Wartime Stories is actually a guy who was, if I'm not mistaken, a recon Marine who does the same thing, but on the military side.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, it's cool as fuck. Love his channel. Love his channel so much. I'm on his Patreon. There's like 2 Patreons that I'm on.
Wait, give him a shout out. Do the same.
I just did.
Oh, sorry. I'm drunk, guys. I'm fucking oblivious.
Wartime Stories. First off, homie, I love your shit. Like, hell yeah, Devil Dog. And second, if you are into the military, paranormal, cryptid, zoology, stuff like that, and want to see that or hear about that from a military perspective, Wartime Stories on YouTube. I love him. I love his shit. He's just badass. But I watch a lot of that, and it's sad when you watch certain episodes, and you're like, oh, this hit close to home. I have a similar experience, and I don't like it.
I don't know if I'll be comparing my PTSD, bro.
Well, even like it's
a reason why I'm not in the military, but we won't get into that.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so as far as,
I'm still giving it a listen.
oh, definitely give it a listen. But the reason why I also love talking about this shit with you, especially off camera, we can talk about certain things off camera, is that being an intel girl, there's a whole bunch that I'm like, yeah, as far as I'm aware of this and this and this. And you're like, oh, as far as you're aware of.
So, actually, no. I still
actually.
clearance, bro.
I know. That's why I said off camera. Off camera.
No, you're right.
Off camera on secure channels, and never once has she compromised any of her top secret security.
Never,
channels.
not one time.
Not one time. Never one time has she ever violated her security
satire,
clearance.
folks.
Yes, in essence, yes. So, and that's one funny thing that I'm curious of, like, your perspective on is, so I'm curious of your perspective on, like, especially the whole, I think we haven't really talked about this before. I actually went down the rabbit hole of this, of, like, you know the phrase, every military base is haunted.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Think about how many people died on those bases. Let's be realistic.
Yes.
all
I did not understand the extent. I went down the rabbit hole of literally, like, I was literally, even National Guard armories, I was going state by state by state by state by state.
Shit's wild, dude.
Everything from, like, active duty bases or large base installations. Now, granted, things like stories from Reddit and stuff like that are questionable.
Listen, I believe them. If it's a legit person writing about their own experience with the supernatural,
I was just going to say, Reddit has some shit to say about me that ain't true, so.
Wait, what?
Oh, let's not go there.
Yo, I'll fight someone.
Oh, Lord. What do you mean find someone? Baby, it's fine. Listen, if people have the freedom of expression in support of me,
which they do, because we're over here, fighting for it. But
yes, if people have the freedom of expression to like what I do, people also need to have the freedom of expression to not like what I do, even if the shit that they say is made up. To you,
all the haters to Copper, you're stupid poo heads, and I don't like you. You're on my shit list.
You on my shit list now.
And she'll take a drone and fuck you up.
I'll find someone with a drone and fuck you up.
I don't know why. I don't know why I took a drink right before you responded, because I could have known you were going to make me laugh. Oh, now I got coffee in my chest. That's fine.
First of all,
but so
fuck, what are you doing today that you need to drink coffee? You're hanging out with your parents. What are you doing?
You do, sweetheart, you do realize that caffeine does two things for me. Number one, it makes my brain wake up. And number two, it makes my brain shut up.
Oh,
yes.
You got the ADHDs.
Yeah, I got the ADHDs.
I got 80 of them bitches.
I got 80 of them bitches. No, I mean, I've never been diagnosed with it, but it's probably there.
If caffeine helps. Think about what
looks like a duck, quacks like a duck. It's probably a duck.
If it looks like a traumatized, mentally unhinged, undiagnosed millennial, it probably is an undiagnosed, mentally unhinged millennial. I'm sorry to break it to you.
Lord. But so what was I saying? Oh yeah, so as far as, like, the things being haunted, and also I'm curious on your end as far as, like, especially the recruiting crisis right now, right? There's so many things back and forth that I see on why recruiting is so down at the moment. And there's obviously the things that, like, people speculate, and there's obviously just the way the numbers are. I have my reasons for why I think recruiting is such an issue at the moment. I'm curious as to yours.
Okay, so are we talking, like, legitimate, like, reasons, or just, like, bullshit conspiracy reasons? Because I got both.
considering this is down the rabbit hole, I was hoping you were going to say both. So.
All right, cool. So, one of my friends was actually, she was actually a recruiter. And this isn't from anything she said or anything like that. Just I could see the trends of when she was making good recruit numbers and when she wasn't. And I think, honestly, what we're seeing right now is that the Gen Z generation, that's the generation that's enlisting and whatnot. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that they are lazy or anything like that. They simply don't want to be involved in shit that isn't their fucking problem.
Okay.
Like, think about it. Not all the shit that we've been involved in as part of the U.S. military. What percentage of that actually has any bearing on what happens here?
Well, I think it's
this generation coming up. They're starting to realize that a lot of what the U.S. military is used for is for political bullshit and fodder.
Right. And I can get that. I think it's hard because, like, years in my generation, like we were kids when 9/11 happened.
Yep.
You know, so.
And I was on the younger end of that generation too. I think I was probably one of the youngest people I know to go through that, because I'm also like the last year of the millennial.
What year again?
I'm 94.
92. So yeah, about the same. Us elder millennials.
No, we're younger millennials.
Sorry, the younger millennials. Yeah, so like just on the cusp of yeah, you're right. So yeah, I mean, it's hard because, like, I think for our generation, we literally were alive at a point where we remember when GWAT started, and you know, we directly got hit. We were directly going after the guys who hit us, so on and so forth, all that, and it was this whole global war on terror that, as we grew up, it was implied that you were at some point going to go to or be in direct support of Iraq and Afghanistan.
Right. Or at least in some capacity, because
at least in some capacity,
being a civil servant and being the military, excuse me, it's still pushed pretty hard today, because don't get me wrong, we love our first responders, we love our civil servants, we love everyone in the military. Absolutely thankful for every single one of you individuals. However, it's not as pushed as much now as it was when we were growing up.
No.
And I think you're right. I think it is because we were like the youngest of the generations to like see what happened and like be present when we were getting attacked on our own land, because that's never happened before. Like, it was wild. Well,
not since Pearl Harbor, no.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But
and I think the other big part of it for me is that, like, for me, it was that, but then for me, it was also, I don't want to necessarily say like a family business, because when I say family business, as far as like why people join, I more take that as like, you know, my daddy did it, my granddaddy did it, my great-granddaddy did it. My dad wasn't. My grandfather on daddy's side, my grandfather on dad's side was in World War II. My uncle, a lot of my uncles went, especially during Vietnam, both on mom and dad's side.
You got old ass uncles.
Oh yeah. Well, my dad's the youngest of 9.
Oh,
so
shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm sitting here thinking, I'm pretty sure my grandfather was part of Vietnam.
No, my dad's the youngest of like 9.
Dead, so.
No, I think because Uncle Eddie has passed. Uncle John was there and he's still kicking. Uncle Neil, I don't think, went. And then on my mama's side, they've all passed away. But yeah, so I kind of grew up with that. But the other thing is that I also grew up with the whole, like, friends of my mom and dad's who, during like the 80s and 90s, when we weren't directly involved in a constant conflict, like, yes, Panama was happening, the Gulf was happening, Somalia, stuff like that, but it wasn't like everybody was going.
Right.
It was also the idea of you go in to learn a skill set, do some growing up, build yourself some. And
build
it was also
character. throw some nerve in it.
Kind of.
It wasn't kind of. That was literally it. Or you either were getting sent to prison or you were joining the military.
Yes.
Those were
Go to war, go to jail.
a lot of the military at that point in time were felons.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we have so many fucked up vets now, too. Because think about it, too, from the generations. All right. I'm going to get on my soapbox for a minute because I fully believe the military is just a different form of a cult. And I follow this woman on Instagram, and she's amazing, and I can't remember her name, but at some point in time, I will tag her in a video because she's great. But anyway, she talks about how the military is a cult, and I fully believe in what she's saying because when you take, like, just people in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
And 9 times out of 10, these people that are getting convicted for these felonious crimes, they're stupid shit. Like, they were caught with an ounce of weed on them, so they immediately get hit with the maximum drug charge. And then they're put in a position of choosing the military or prison, knowing our prison
Which
system.
one do you think they're going to do? Yeah.
Right. And for those listening of our fan base overseas, like, the American prison system is awful. Like, it is absolutely disgusting. I'm a criminal justice major. I got my bachelor's degree. Like, this shit's disgusting. So when you compare, and we've gone leaps and bounds comparatively now to how we were, say, back in the 60s, back in the 40s, like, and those are the people that were getting sent overseas and creating a bad name for military members too, because then you had like those few percentages that were over in Vietnam raping and pillaging like fucking Vikings. Like, so now, okay, so then we're coming into the military, right? And then our supervisors are the offspring of those guys. And we're stuck trying to fit together and piece together this for us, a workspace that we're in and still not lose our fucking minds because it's a high stress work environment. We're constantly surrounded by people of different cultures, different backgrounds, all that stuff. And so we're trying to learn just how to survive, number one. And number two, survive in a way that isn't going to make us like uncomfortable about who we are as a human being. And so we're fighting back against the crusty old bullshit, like all of the stupid regulations, like the fact that guys can't have beards or like the hair regulations. And like those sound like stupid things, but when you take away a person's like basic human necessities like free speech, because we fight for free speech, but you know damn well in the military we don't have free speech. We can't fucking say what we want to say. I can't say half the shit I want to say right now. And it's all because of the military, because they fucking own me.
Right.
And so like, we have this generation coming up behind us and they see all this shit. They see us trying to make waves. And thank God for fucking TikTok, because now people are starting to go on the internet and they're starting to talk about the stupid shit that we deal with on a daily basis. And not just like the mundane shit, but like sexual harassment. You've been a victim of that in your time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's that shit that we're fighting against, and those younger generations, they don't want any part of it. Life's hard enough.
And I totally get that, and it's hard because like I have like kids who will reach out to me and they'll be like, you know, hey, I'm thinking of joining. Can I talk to you about this and this and this? Or I've counted. I think at this point it's in the like 20s. I think of just ones who have reached out to me and told me that either they've enlisted and are off to boot camp for whatever branch, or are about to go to MEPS and sign or whatever, and I inspired them to go. And it's hard because it's one of those things that it's hard because they'll ask me advice. They'll be like, you know, hey, because like I have the videos of me and the boys doing things and stuff like that.
And you
and people be like,
and it looks so fucking cool. And not to say that what you do is fucking awesome, and I'm super jealous that like I joined the Air Force and got stuck behind a desk and I didn't look at the Army. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I could have been doing cool shit. But at the same time, what you're showing is the great parts of what we do.
Right. And I don't do it as like a, you know, hey, come on in. Right. For me, it's more of like, hey, this big part of my life that is one of the few things that makes me ridiculously happy when it's good. Like, I'm just sharing that with y'all.
Yeah, of course.
You know, that's why I don't like push it all that much. I show me and the boys doing fun things together, or even like outside and stuff like that. Like,
Absolutely.
like my brother Dave, his wedding and stuff like that. That's all through them. And it's really hard because I have been very, very lucky in that my experience for the first 9 years of my career, yes, I had good people that have brought me, and yes, I had good and not so good experiences that came from that. This new unit that I'm with, the boys I'm with now, from the day I got there, I was family. And no matter how shitty it's gotten, that family has always been there. That brotherhood has always been there. And there's all the dumb shit that we deal with all the time. But for me, it's also just how I'm wired to where I know no matter how shitty it gets, I know that no matter how dumb it gets, for me, I'm not there for this and that reason. I'm there because it's a part of me and what I love to do, and I'm there for my boys. And
Of course.
I am lucky in that I have that culture around me. Not everyone's going to get that. And it's hard because you'll have two people who signed up on literally the same day.
Literally me and my brother.
Check in 4 years later, and we'll have entirely different experiences. And it's really hard.
2 years to that, and yeah, that's me and my brother's timeline.
And the thing is that like these kids will ask me like, how do I do this and how I do this? I'll be like, bud, or sweetheart, I don't know what unit you're going to go to. I don't know what it's like for you going to go to.
It's hard.
It is. And
I also I go through the same thing. Like I've had plenty of people come to me and they're just like, hey, like my daughter's thinking about enlisting, or hey, I'm thinking about enlisting. And for those of you who don't know, I'm kind of on like an R&R status right now. So I'm still technically enlisted. However, I'm in the process of being medically retired due to an assault that due to being assaulted while I was enlisted. So there's that whole background. So like I'm super conflicted because it's hard when you've been through something like that and the type of bonds you make with the people that you're on a crew with, right? So imagine having that bond with someone.
Broken.
And then that happening.
Yep.
So these are the people that we're supposed to stand side by side with and go to war with. Literally, like I could be saving your life, you could be saving mine. And then we're trained all through that. And then that's something so traumatizing happens. So it's hard for me to sit back and say, yeah, no, join the military. Like it's the best thing that I've ever been through. When, yes, being in the military, like I was telling you before, for me personally, I didn't have much of a choice when it came to like what to do to get out of my parents' house. Most people go to school, most people go to college after, they figure out their next path. For me, I literally had nowhere to go other than the military, or I was going to be homeless. Like those were my options.
Right.
And so when I enlisted, I finally found that sense of family that I had been craving for so long. And I started making those bonds with people where we would be going through some really shitty shit. And like, we were the only ones that understood the shit that we were going through. So we were able to talk about it and create those bonds. And I'm so thankful for the friendships that I was able to make. And I still hold true to quite a few of those friendships nowadays, actually. But it's hard to look at the military structure as a whole and in good conscience be able to say, yeah, join the military is the best decision I ever made. But then still be sitting here, I have no college debt because of the military. I have a house that I was able to get because of the VA loan. Like, you know what I mean? Like
yeah, and I totally get it. And it's hard because I think it's like, I think the problem is too, is that I think it goes into one of those things where it's the whole like, I'm trying to think of how to word it. You don't hear, you know what? Let's go for this example. What do you see on the news? You don't hear I did this for this amount of time and this was awesome, or I did this and this for an amount of time.
You see the hero stories or the bullshit.
Or the horror stories.
Yeah. You hear the horror stories or the hero stories, and that is it.
Yep.
And there is a lot more hero stories than there are horror stories, or is what the news portrays.
Yep. But it's hard because, like, and I tell kids a lot of time when they say they're going in or that they want to go in, I tell them all the time, like, listen, I can't tell you what kind of culture you're going to walk into. I can't tell you what kind of unit you're going to go into, but what I can tell you is this, is that if you go into it with the mindset of no matter what you get thrown into, you are going to make the best out of it. You are going to figure it out.
Yep.
You are going to build yourself. It's weird. It's this balance between, you know, be part of that team and watch out for yourself. And it shouldn't have to be that way, but it is.
It shouldn't, but I feel like that's just kind of life, though. Like on the
Yeah,
side,
it is.
I mean,
It is.
like, because like, so in my experience, one of the most annoying parts of the military was the politics. And I ranked up pretty quickly. So I actually would have been eligible. I actually should have already patched on for Master Sergeant by now.
Damn.
Last September, that would have been my year in service.
Mhm.
10 years. Anywho, so like, but there were so many, so much politics that went into that.
Mhm.
Like, they were like, oh yeah, no, you got your E5. Like, that's like your gimme one. Like, the fucking the hoops I had to jump through to get that fucking patch.
Mhm. If I've learned anything, and I think the problem is that I think that there's a lot of problems that people experience in the military that people tend to
Overlook.
I don't want to, yes, definitely that one. But at the same time, I think that people tend to be like, oh, this is a just military thing.
Oh.
This is a just thing. It's like, no, any big organization of people ever,
Oh yeah,
you're
100%.
going to deal with that crap.
Because
And
now
it's
I'm in corporate America and there is
Mhm.
politics. But I will say, I can leave those politics at work.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't leave the military politics at work because I was constantly surrounded by the military. Because when you're active, like we were, who are our friends? Who are the people that we hang out with outside of work?
Mm-hmm.
More military people.
I've been in the Guard the whole time, but even like when I was on either
But when you were
orders
on
or long,
orders, like,
yeah, and you're with these people all the time, like, you know, especially when I was in DC, and I've somewhat talked about that on my Patreon. You know, it was hard because that was literally like it was one of the darkest periods of my military career. I'll go with that. It had nothing to do with what was happening around us. It had to go with it had to happen with what is going internally. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand is that you can be literally fighting the world and everything in it. But if the people who you're next to are like this, everything's fine.
Yep.
You could be on damn vacation.
You could be literally sleeping on concrete in giant parking garages because that's what our government decides is fit for our U.S. military. Not that I'm throwing shade or anything.
Now, hold on. We did get to stay in hotels for the rest of the time. That was fun.
Okay, but you shouldn't have had to sleep on the concrete at all.
Sleep in foxholes. Like, come on now.
I said what I said. You're on U.S. soil. You should have had a bunker. You should have had a tent. You should have had a cot.
I know.
Something.
So,
You-
beyond all...
You know it was fucked up. Don't just rub it off.
Oh, no, I'm not saying it wasn't. I'm just saying we'll keep going down a whole different rabbit hole. That's going to be a whole different rabbit hole that's going to...
Again, this is what separates
get me in some trouble.
Force from the Army.
Yeah, I know. But it's funny because you know what branch is not dealing with a recruitment crisis right now?
Coast Guard.
My devil dogs. My Marines ain't dealing with any kind of recruitment issues right
The
now.
Marines have never, though. Because think of who joins the Marines.
Hey,
Think of every Marine.
Marines was
What are
my
they
first
all?
choice. I just couldn't based off a wrist tattoo at that time.
Oh, they wouldn't let me because I was too fat. Dude, before you met me, I was a chunker. I was a chunky early.
I'm sorry. I'm error 404 file not found for like the idea of a chunky Ellie. Like that doesn't. I can't. Like I can't even picture it. Like I just can't.
Even with Air Force regulations, I'm still technically overweight. I've always been overweight for military regs. The only reason why I pass my PT test is because they measure my neck and then I'm able to run like a 10-minute mile and a half. And I can outlift most of the men that were in my squadron.
I'm very confused. Okay.
I don't know, man.
Listen, if you're...
This is what I'm talking about.
Right.
So I even looked at it because, like,
If you're considered chunky, then people are
but
fucked.
that's the problem, because when you look at the Air Force regulations for like female and male,
I forget
yeah,
that from branch to branch. Yeah.
they're all super different. I don't know what they. I mean, granted, if I wanted to join the Marines tomorrow, I probably could. I could probably get in because I have I've gotten in better shape, all that shit.
Mhm.
However, well, actually, I probably couldn't because my brain's all fucked. However, when you look at the Air Force regulations for the weight I should be at 135 pounds, and I am nowhere near that. I am way over that.
Okay.
But then when you look at the men's regulations for my same height, I could be 165 pounds and still
Right.
fucking test.
Right. And the problem is that is a back and forth that has gone on as long as women have been in the
As long as
military,
feminism has been like granting us rights, that's always been an argument.
yeah, it's always
Well,
been
I
an
don't
argument. And
disagree, but
Mhm.
to a certain degree, men are gonna weigh more.
Mhm.
Right? Like, they're gonna weigh more. However, there shouldn't be a 30 fucking pound difference,
Right.
like, on a BMI scale.
And I think that's another thing. I think that part of what this is just coming from my perspective, and I'm trying to word myself carefully because I'm still in. But I think the problem is that, like, I think, especially with the political landscape of everything, the problem is that as the branches try to be more like woke in essence, that, again, I'm trying to watch my words. When they're going woke, the people that you're appealing to with this constant wokeness, they're not joining.
No.
And they're not going to join
But
no matter how much.
But it's making our lives easier. Do you know? Okay, the new hair regulations that the Air Force just passed.
Okay, no,
you
that
know
stuff
how
I agree
many
with.
Girls I know that are now like being able to, myself included, now that I'm not like in anymore, I'm not going bald because of the hair regulations. They get
That
all
kind of stuff.
enough color that I've had to struggle through that with keeping their hair in like a super tight small bun and ruining their fucking scalps for what? For free college? Like,
so that kind of stuff I get. Like, so I'm not like some of the grooming standards kind of stuff like that. Like, yes, you should be able to have, like, yes, you should maintain a professional, clean, so on and so forth appearance.
the religion ones that just got
The religion exemptions that they're doing. Yep. We have
men
actually
now have like their beards if they're religious, so that includes really Muslim.
it's
all those.
Islam. Norse pagan is the other one that I think has the religious exemption on it. I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head or the things off the top of my head, but one of my soldiers asked about it, so I delved into it so that I made sure I gave him the right answer. But even like tattoos, like, you know, that fact we have tattoos now. Yeah. So it differs from branch to branch.
Wow.
So for me, being Army, that's kind of why I finally got 2 handpieces. I had wanted handpieces for the longest time anyway.
But they're so little. They're not even real handpieces. They're just like quarter size.
I know. But it's so by Army regulation, it is 1 inch by 1 inch on each hand. You can also have
Navy reg too, actually, because
I think it's also Navy.
One of my close friends, she has one on the inside of her middle finger, and it's pretty big, and she was able to enlist with it with no problem.
Yes, so I know, I'm trying to go back and remember, because I think for Army it's on top of each hand, 1 inch by 1 inch. I think the behind the ear one might have gone away. I'd have to double check, but it's also 1 inch by 1 inch.
Got that one.
You guys got that one too, yep.
Yeah, I think we got the behind the ear, but I think our hand tattoos are still only limited to a wedding band.
Yes, and that's the other part of the Army one, is that the 1 inch by 1 inch on top of each hand, as well as a ring tattoo. It's weird because the problem is that they word these things.
Yeah,
but then
and it's subject to interpretation.
Yes, so people will be like, "Well, they meant this." It's like,
yeah.
No, that's how you interpret. But that's the problem.
You get those fucking dickwad lieutenants coming in, and they're just like, you need to have this color nails because it's one shade off than what the regulation says. I'm going to write you up for that. And for those of you at home, getting written up in the military is a little bit more detrimental than getting written up at like Starbucks. Like this is career.
It's not the same. Yeah, it's not the same. It's not the same. But like, so I'm happy that that little things like that, because I'm sorry, a 1 inch by 1 inch hand tattoo does not scream, oh my God, I'm a freaking felon, or oh my God, I'm one of you.
But any tattoo shouldn't scream that. That's the problem.
And I get that, and I agree with that. And, well, I shouldn't say any tattoo. There are some tattoos that.
Okay, swats.
I'm sorry, no.
Maybe teardrop.
Yes.
Those can go on the list.
Yes.
But like,
placement wise, you know, like for me, I fully agree with the whole thing of like, listen, nothing from the neck up, but like from the collar down, go ahead.
See, I feel like neck tattoos should be allowed. I feel like face tattoos should be allowed. Listen, think of how fucking terrifying it would be if you just had a bunch of fucking Marines just popping up out of the ground and they're just like fucking covered head to toe in fucking tattoos.
They just, instead of a teardrop, they got an eagle, globe, and anchor just right here. Yeah, right.
They're just like,
oh, motherfucker.
You're raw dog in life with a bunch of like shivved crayons and creatine, just like,
that's why I love my Marines. And the funny thing is that, like, I tell people all the time, two of the best friends that you are ever gonna have in your life are a dog and a devil dog.
It's true.
Because I'm like, even my buddies who, one of my close friends is a Marine. I haven't talked to that fucker in like 5 months, and I love him. He and I both know damn well either one of us could call the other one up at 3 o'clock in the morning and just be like, "What's up? Bro, I need you at my place with a shovel." Okay. And we would just get up and go, and that's just how that goes. Like, you know, just
because Marines, they really do just be the most loyal fuckers you've ever met in your entire life.
They can also be some of the worst fuck boys.
Oh,
that's
100%.
also the younger ones. The younger ones.
In my experience, we're gonna get into fuck girl Ellie, but like, I had this really close friend. He was amazing. And he was a Marine, and I met him through social media, and we were like really close friends for like a year and a half. And then I decided to date him. It was on me. Shouldn't have done that one. And now we're not friends. But like the loyalty of that man. Chef's kiss.
But like, so, and that's the thing, is that this again goes into what I was talking about, which are like all the positives don't get talked about, but you hear all the negatives, because then like,
or you hear
the
wrong positives.
Yes. When was the last time you saw like a TikTok or this or that, or of like a, you know, hey, I dated a Marine and this and this and this? No, everyone you hear is like, they all are so fucking egotistical.
Okay.
And they're the most unfaithful pieces of shit.
Wait a second.
I'm not saying that doesn't happen.
The vast majority of men in uniform are fucking assholes. And I'm going to say that because I can say that.
Yes.
Because, no, it's not just the younger ones.
Oh, I didn't say it was just the younger ones. I didn't say it was just the younger ones.
The younger ones are like a different breed. They got no respect, bro.
Shit.
No respect. They were.
And then they come to me. And
ooh, I gave quite a few of my airmen. I'm like, the last year I was there, like, not full time because I'm guard. So for those at home, I was like, I've always been guard, but like at one point in time, I was active duty guard, which means I was full time military. It's fucking confusing. Anywho,
AGRs,
yeah. So my last year there, I was like a full blown like E6. So I was strutting around. I had my key, my clipboard in one hand, my cup of coffee in the other.
Sorry, can you make that noise again?
Just strutting around, always looking busy, looking frazzled, just so I stood out of trouble. And I would go check in on my airmen every now and again. And the fucking disrespect that came out of this kid's mouth. When I was their rank, I was afraid to look at someone my rank at that point in time. Like,
yep.
When I was an A1C, I didn't fucking talk to E6s. I didn't look at E6s. I didn't spoken to. And I asked this kid to take out the trash in the men's bathroom. And you would have thought I asked him to go shit his mother. Like, fuck.
That
Like,
is
that's
one,
what
and
you
that's the problem.
do. They had no respect. They got no home training.
It sucks because like it's hard because I think the problem is that how do I word it? So like when I came in, right? I also came in for the right reasons. I didn't come in as like, I guess. Like I did it because I was like, listen, because my family did it. I want to do it since I was a kid. I love this shit, so on and so forth.
And to be
And
fair, too, I always knew.
To be fair,
To be fair,
to be fair,
I always knew going through high school that I was going to be in some part of the military in some way, shape, or fashion, because that's just what I always was called to be. Granted, I thought I was going to be a coastie. I thought I was going to be a diver.
You know, the
I was
Coast Guard actually does some pretty cool shit.
They really do. We shit on them
They
so
really
much,
do.
but they're actually kind of cool. I did it.
I mean, I don't, but that's also because, like, as a total tactical fucking nerd, like, I look and, like, I can tell you at least, like, I can tell you some of the most obscure, badass shit that all the branches do that people have, like, never heard of. And especially in, like,
I feel like the coasties keep their badass shit, like, on lock.
oh, it's so weird.
They shit.
No, they don't. Like,
And I kind of respect them more for it.
like, pretty much, like, the interdiction guys and, like, Hitron, like, snipers with fucking 50 cals that snipe engines on boats while they're both moving.
Yeah, it's fucking wild.
And, like, literally, they literally are just snipers that are up in helicopters, like, that follow speeding boats and will snipe out the fucking engine of a boat while they're both moving with a fucking 50 cal. I'm sorry, that shit is hard.
Yeah,
like that is
shooting anything.
As my friends would say, that's
moving. If they're moving,
shit,
fucking hard.
Oh, it's hard, and like, but it's funny. So there's them. There's I don't know how big they are now, but like the mass deployable group guys, which during early GWAT, there were coasties who were mass deployable group guys who went to go cross train with Navy SEALs.
Okay,
and then ended up staying with the SEALs for a long ass time. So you've got coasties who are doing Navy SEAL shit. You've got rescue swimmers who even outside of the combat side of things are just these badass dudes who go get people.
Only like five coasties. It wasn't anything like crazy during that time. It was like
I don't actually remember the exact number, but like the point is that like those are the dudes, but also those are the dudes that we heard about.
Yeah, true.
Like the
because they have to tell us. I feel like from a military standpoint, if you're smart, if you're smart though, because we have the Navy and we have the Coast Guard. You and I both know what we know about the Navy. However, if you were going to do some cool, like, psyop shit, and this is fully, like, conspiracy. I don't know for sure any of this shit. However, if you're going to do some psyop shit, wouldn't you send in the ones that we shit on the most? It's like Space Force. You know what I mean? Like, nobody takes Space Force seriously. Nobody takes Coastie seriously. But there's like...
But then all of a sudden, when we got God rods coming out of space, smacking the target.
Who's talking shit now?
Holy fucking shit. And so they're like eating their fucking Hot Pockets, but like
delivery from the Guardians, motherfuckers.
No, you will never convince me that the Space Force actually does anything to contribute to modern society.
Well,
never.
Well, so listen. So I don't know anybody in the Space Force.
Neither do I. That's why I
don't know much about the Space Force. But I'm just saying. I feel like it's not beyond the realm of possibility that they actually have some people in the Space Force who do some fucking alley shit that we'll never hear about because, like,
you're probably not wrong, though.
Here's another weird thing of mine, right? Like, the military is so worried, right, about we need to look cool, we need to look this, we need to look this. The videos that they put out of, like, some of the first Space Force basic training cadets did not make them look good at all.
Bunch of pussies. What they look like.
Interesting. You can't tell me that wasn't on purpose. You cannot tell me that across the board, everyone went,
this makes us look badass enough. It's fine. This will be cool.
No, I can guarantee they had a bunch of fucking nerds direct that bullshit, and they were just like, you know what?
Not even that.
I have a feeling that there's something in there where it's like, this looks great and everything is fine.
Meanwhile, the Space Force is doing some badass shit that no one's going to look at because everyone is going to look at all the Space Force jokes and be like, there's no way they're going to fuck us up. Meanwhile, there's dudes like, there's space snipers getting ready to jam.
They're fighting off with aliens. It's like fucking Independence Day with Will Smith.
Yeah, right.
That's Space Force.
Right.
They're just flying through.
That's Space Force right there, yeah. The Space Force has got a barbecue. There's a whole bunch of Will Smiths flying around in space, fucking people up.
Granted, it's the Air Force flying around in space. However, they're being directed by the Space
Yes,
Force.
exactly. Well, and that's the funny thing. That's the other thing that a lot of people like don't get is that like
We all work together.
like no, we're not even that. We all work together, but fight me all you want, but everything in the military falls back on either the Army or the Navy because everything came from the Army and Navy.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Air Force was the Army Air Corps. The Marines are now much more independent, but that's why
they fell under the Army
Navy
umbrella because
of the Navy. Well, no, the Navy umbrella. Yeah, it was the Navy umbrella.
Huh.
So you have to think about it this way, right?
History mixed up.
So, all right. So here's the weird thing about it. I forget exactly the history of the Marines as far as like how that came to be. All I know is that the United States Marine Corps started at a bar in Philadelphia in the city of brotherly love, and I forget the exact date. But they fell under the Navy. That's why during like World War II, they were going to Guadalcanal with Springfield 1903 bolt actions and a bunch of old shit. And for a lot of the Marines' earliest history, that's why. Because a Navy admiral is not going to get fired up about land warfare. So they just go, yeah, we got this shit. Give it to them. And that's kind of a big part of why the Marines have that culture of, you can give us the stupidest shit ever. Guess what? We're going to make it fucking work.
Yeah.
Because in the Army, land warfare has always been our thing. That's the point. So they were getting the Garand rifles and this shit and that shit first because that's their point. But
whereas the Marines were just making shit work and they were getting
making shit work and they were getting shit done with old shit. And it wasn't until they recognized it that they were like, oh, maybe we should give them good shit. And it's like, yeah.
Maybe we should give them a budget.
Yep. No kidding. And for the longest time, I mean, like, but that's been, I'm sorry, even looking at modern history, by the time that we got into Iraq, like, yeah, some Army units were running around with 20-inch, like, M16A2s and stuff like that. But for the most part, everyone had M4s.
Mm-hmm.
The Marines were still running around with 20-inch M16A4 builds.
Mm-hmm.
And they were still clearing houses with that big-ass long...
right?
Huh?
That was because those were proven to be the more efficient weapons at the time due to the fact that they were tested out in Vietnam. So they were proven to be able to withstand like going into like the foxholes and like going through swamps and going through that because they're not complicated weapons. It's like what, 6 pieces that you pull apart to clean?
Oh, so I see what you're getting. I see.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
I'm more talking about the fact that like they were still going in with like full size M16s versus M4s.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no,
that's more what I'm talking about.
Gotcha.
Is that like, and there were other factors that went in there, but like even having gear that wasn't as up to date, the Marines still make shit work again and again and again and again. With you give them the old shit, they're gonna make it work. You give them the new shit, they're gonna make it work.
Right.
That has always been their culture, and that has always been their thing. But where that culture all starts from, in essence, it's changed over time. But the funny thing is that even going back to our recruiting conversation, I think that that's a big part of why the Marines aren't having a recruiting issue right now, because
they've always just been like, hey, we see the bullshit. We're scarred, but we're doing our fucking best. And that's the Marines.
I think it's that. I think it's that. And I think it's also that, like, how do I word it? There's always been that pride behind being a Marine.
Absolutely.
You know, they have that whole rifleman
that right to be prideful because they're doing the fucking shit that all of us are too piss scared to do.
Now, that being said, like that, I'm sorry. I hate when the fucking new kids, like, you just got out of boot camp, all that. I'm happy for you. And then they get out and you're like, oh, your uncle was in the Army? Huh. bitch. It's like, kiddo,
You
you've
haven't
been in
lived.
uniform.
Shut the
Yeah,
fuck
you've
up.
been in uniform for all of like half
5
a year.
seconds.
Yeah, uncle who was in the army over there or whatever has been to Iraq twice. Shut the fuck up. And I get it because because I'm sorry, when I first got out of basic, I wasn't like, I'm the coolest thing ever. But there's all that pride and that
Yeah,
this,
like,
this
I
and
was
that
proud
comes
of
from
the fact that
Yeah.
I went through. But honestly, when I think for like the first like 6 years of my like first enlistment, I don't think I really talked about the fact that I was military to anyone outside
But I think
the military, because
I think also at that age, no matter what you do, kids at that age, like whatever the thing they just did is, it's
You're
the
gonna
best thing
know.
you can ever do. Yeah, you're gonna know. How do you know someone's a Marine? They'll tell you.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Or they'll just
but
punch
no.
a cop in the middle of Plymouth, piss drunk.
Yeah, no kidding. But I think that's part of why like the Marines aren't going through that recruiting issue is that because the culture, and I really hate to use this as a fucking reason, but I feel like it is part of people's decision-making process. The clout behind it, I think, is honestly why not. Because I'm sorry, when you ask a bunch of kids, like, why they want to go to the Marines,
They want to fuck shit up.
pretty much it's like, because I want to be a fucking Marine. And like, there's that culture and there's that pride behind that. And, there's all that they feel like, they're going to go in, they're going to, once they are out back and around in the universe, be the coolest kid on the fucking block. And I'm not saying that there's not something to be said for that and all that, but I feel like from the civilian perspective, outside looking in,
Yeah.
that's what they see. The rest of the branches, it's like, the rest of the branches, unless people really do their research, which most people fucking don't, they just see all this stuff and they've made their decision based off a Facebook post or like Facebook news or TikTok news or whatever.
Yep.
I mean, heck, the amount
Honestly,
of times I've had people, go ahead.
most people I know of don't even recognize the air. Like when I tell people I'm in the military, right? What do they first assume? That I'm in the Army or I'm in the Navy because I'm a girl, and that's where the girls go. They go to the Navy. But no, they're just like, Air Force. Do you fly planes?
Yeah.
No.
Yep. I like the whole like, oh, National Guard. Oh, so what's it like not deploying? It's like,
Oh fuck.
we
no.
deploy.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I hate
when
that shit.
people do that.
And it's hard because like I get.
You don't think I carry enough of my own shame that I haven't been to the sandbox? Like, I've done my fair share of shit, but like, I carry that myself. You don't need to.
Well,
You don't need to tell me.
I think it's just. I mean, granted, a lot of times it's weird because people either talk shit and it's like, oh, who are you with? Oh, no one. Oh, you can kind of shut the fuck up then.
Yeah.
Or, because I've had people ask me, they'll be like, oh, we deploy, and they'll be like, oh, I didn't know that. Like, it's not even necessarily people trying to be shitty. It's just they don't know.
Yeah.
And I think that, what was the point I was getting at? Oh, they hear about the negative, and they think that is the whole entire branch or the military as a whole.
Yeah.
And I mean, but some of it just blows my mind. Like I've had kids ask me, they're like, so I want to join the Army, but my concern is that I don't know if they'll let me join because I'm gay. And I'm like,
those used to be legitimate concerns, though. And somebody asked me one time if they could join the military with I want to word this properly. So the military used to have really strict guidelines on being able to enlist if you had certain STDs, not STIs like chlamydia, gonorrhea, but like STDs.
Right.
And so specifically the Air Force had really strict guidelines. And I think it wasn't until recently with like HIPAA and shit that like all those got turned around. So those are the questions I get the most is like, hey, can I join the military because I have XYZ? And because you know how picky they are. Like they're
and to me,
like people that don't have to take medication every day.
Right. And that part I somewhat get. Because to me, it's I see the medical logistics side of that.
If you're battlefield, yes.
Yeah.
But if you're someone like me that sits behind a desk.
Right, which I also understand. I'm not saying that their answer for it is right across the
Oh,
board, but like,
absolutely. I think certain MOSs would be disqualifiers. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like being a scout, being on the front lines, like stuff like that.
Mhm.
Those would be disqualifiers because you need to be able to have medical attention at the ready for you should you
Mhm.
need it. And that's the
Right.
same argument I would use for like mental health, like certain mental health disorders, like bipolar
Mhm.
disorder or like personality disorder. Yes,
Right, but then I think that
you'll be able
from
to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. I'm sorry. There's a lag, so sometimes I cut you off when I don't mean to.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, like, if you have like a mental disorder, like depression, bipolar, manic depressive, like anything like that,
Mhm.
there should be MOSs that, yes, you are not qualified for because it's dangerous for you as a person. Like, it's already dangerous in general, but
Mhm.
because of your medical issues that you have, it's just unsafe for us to put you in that environment.
Right.
Here are a bunch of other MOSs you could do, like
Right.
what I do. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, it's not
And I
serious.
I get that, but at the same time, I can see why they don't from the broad logistics part of it, because I'm not saying, because I don't know what it's like to be all the way up here. I'm down here, but from up here, I think that the issue is like, okay, so we're gonna have to do a case by case by case by case by
Yeah,
case
and you know how
basis.
much they're like
And
that.
Yes, and so I think that that's part of the reason why. But still, like the fact that this young man asked me whether or not it was okay for him to join the military because he was gay, it's like,
That breaks my heart.
don't ask, don't tell. Yet, don't ask, don't tell has been repealed for a very long time.
But a lot
Like
of
the
people
fact
don't
that
know about that stuff.
yes, and that's what I'm getting at, is that there's a lot of people who I think who are going based off really, really old ass information.
Yep. Or just like biases. So like
Yes.
again, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier in the episode where we're dealing with those people that had prison or being in the military as options. Like those are the people that are spreading this misinformation because they're going based off of
Mhm.
regulations that were in place when they were in. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, they're passing that down onto the old crusties that we deal with on a daily basis. And those old crusties are not going and looking at the new regulations like they should be, except for a select few, and they're very annoying.
And I think there's that because, like, I'm sorry, like, two of the most badass infantrymen I know are out now and are married. Obviously, both of them are gay. I didn't get to go to that wedding, but that was a fun wedding from what I heard. Someone who I know personally in my career, for the sake of his privacy, I won't say his name, but I'm sorry, the man is very effeminate. It does not take a whole lot of guessing to guess that he's gay. The man is badass, works hard at his job, and I would take that man with me anywhere because he's not, he's effeminate, but when it's time to go, it's time to go. When it's time to roll, it's time to roll. Like
he's there to get his fucking job done.
he's there to get his fucking job done, and he does. Like,
I feel like that's the vast majority. No?
what do you mean?
Like, I don't know. I feel like we talk about this a lot, like the voices of the loud minority versus the majority.
Yep.
And I feel like the cases of the loud minority make it extremely difficult for the
Yes, they do.
majority of individuals
Yes, they do.
to be able to get where they're trying to be in life.
Yes, they do. Yep. And it drives me crazy because I think that, and it's hard because, you know, for a lot of people who don't know anyone personally that they can ask or have a conversation with, as far as like, hey, I've heard this and this and this.
Mm-hmm.
You coming from this world, what's it actually like? A lot of people don't have that
No.
because we make up less than 1% of the population.
Well,
And-
according to what the Air Force told me, I am the 1%. If you look at the economy, that would be different. However,
Fair.
that's what the Air Force told me. They said I'm the 1% of the 1%.
Do you trust everything that the Air Force told you?
Oh, absolutely not. That's why I can't say 95% of what I want to say because I signed an NDA.
And it's hard because, like, especially on my end, you know, I don't temper what I say because I'm necessarily afraid of repercussions.
Oh.
I temper what I say because like the things that you and I can bitch about are things that you and I will bitch about, but also not for nothing, soldiers complain.
100%.
You could take a group of soldiers to heaven and
No.
we would still
We're still gonna find something to bitch about.
bitch about. Like literally, you could take a group of soldiers to heaven and it'd literally be like, is there no beer up here?
Marshmallows in my pillow?
Yeah, is there no beer up here? Like that's gay. Like,
There's
that's
no
dumb.
There's no tap. Where's
Yeah.
the home booze?
Yeah, right.
I want to.
Hey, do we like get free ammo up here? What do you mean like we don't have guns in heaven? That's my idea of that. Bro, it's dumb. Like they would
What
find
do you mean we don't have high-speed internet up here? What the fuck?
Yeah, right. What do you mean I don't like get to just haunt people as soon as I get here? God.
God damn it! There's
God
levels to
damn
this shit. I thought you just
Yeah,
died
right.
and like then you could haunt people. That's not
Yeah.
how this works.
Like
Huh.
any service member of almost any branch pretty much ever, we will find something to complain about. But it's, we can complain about it.
But no one else can
But-
because you
Not
haven't
even
been
so.
through it.
There's that, and I think it's also the problem is that like people hear those complaints, but then I'm sorry, you and I both know plenty of people who they're in and all they do is bitch and bitch and bitch and bitch and bitch and poor me, poor me, poor me, poor me, poor me. It's like, yeah, you see that part. You don't see them on duty. When they're on duty, they don't do shit. They do nothing but sit down and complain. They're not a good service member. They're not. But they're the ones who sometimes have the biggest gripes about shit. And people listen to them. And then you'll
the most.
Yep. And then you'll have dudes who have been through absolute fucking hell to where it's like, how the fuck do you get up in the morning? And they're like, oh no, it's good.
Hey,
Like,
everything's
fine.
fine. Don't worry about it.
It's
I'm
not.
still in the dream.
Yeah, pretty much.
That was my favorite
Or-
thing. Like as I
Living
was
a
like,
dream.
coming to the end of me being there, there's just
Mhm.
anytime. How you doing, Sergeant Burgett? I'm living the fucking dream. So happy to be here.
Mm-hmm. I had one. I went on my E6s who her whole thing was great day. It's a great day. Great Army day.
Great
I'd be like, how you doing?
Great day to
I'd
be
be
in
like-
America.
That was actually a really good impression of her. But that was every single day. I'd be like, how you doing, Sergeant? Great day. It's a great Army day. Great day. Great day. Awesome day. Awesome day. Great day.
I'm not going to slam my head through the desk today or anything. I'm not going to throw myself out the fucking window. What I am going to do, though, is after I clock out, I'm going to go run 100 miles, and then I'm going to lift some shit, and then I'll feel better.
That actually sounds pretty good right about now.
Honestly.
As long as we go
Actually-
drink it afterwards.
Actually, what sounds good about right about now is Shake Shack, because I'm starving.
Yes. I had a feeling you were trying to wrap things up because I looked at the time and I was like, I am depriving her of her food and she is going to reach through this camera and strangle me.
It's getting to that point. Plus, I heard Mama Kappa come in and say that your food was also ready.
Yes.
So, on
So-
that note, I love the fact that today took a very different turn than how we were talking about doing today's
Pretty
down the
much.
rabbit hole. But I think we had a good episode. We got it down the
Well-
rabbit hole on what it's like to be in the military from military members.
Kind of, yeah. Like and we haven't even like scratched
No.
the
No, no, no.
surface. Like there's so much that we
would
did
need our
not
very own
cover.
podcast for that.
Yeah. Oh, heck yeah. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
No, I'm not ready for that
Uh,
much commitment right now. I'm taking a hiatus.
Sweetheart.
I got shit going on, bro. I'm tired. I'm planning a wedding.
Honey, hey, it's me. When have you ever known me to try to put any more stress on you? I'm the one who helps take stress away from you.
This is true.
I'm the one who will fight every motherfucker on the planet who tries to stretch you out. Cut that
And
part
on
out.
that
God,
No.
edit that shit out.
I
Edit that
think
shit
on
out.
that
I
note-
will fight every motherfucker who tries to stress you out. Oh my God. Edit that shit out. Holy
I'm
shit.
telling Zaga that you said that.
God, man. Yeah. Slip of the tongue, honey. Anyways, I'm here to make your life easier. In fact, I'm hurt. I'm hurt that you've known me for this long, and I have not been asked to help with dresses, fitment.
You're literally
Interior
the flower
decoration?
boy. Like, all
Oh,
I
that's been
need you to-
confirmed.
Yeah, all I need you to do is show up in your suit, and I'm gonna have some flowers and some Smirnoffs or claws. I haven't decided yet. It might actually be tequila high noons.
Okay, but
There's
you
gonna
know
be
me.
an
I like-
alcoholic beverage.
Yes,
You're gonna
and I
throw
get that,
those
but you know me. I like to help with things. I have all this knowledge that is very,
don't
very
worry.
unuseful throughout the rest of my life.
We-
Let me use it.
Don't worry, because we still got July and August, and I'm gonna have a whole. We're DIYing so much of this wedding because it's all like, well, because it's horror gothic kind of theme. So, like for our table numbers, they're tarot cards, but they're horror movie tarot cards. So, like, we're DIYing a lot. So I'm gonna need some help, like assembling shit. So you'll be my
July, I'm not going to be around. July, I'm not going to be around.
well.
but-
I got shit in June and August. I'm sure I can use your help with.
True.
If not, I literally have 2 maid of honors. Like, that's why you haven't been asked, because I have people.
All right, I'm sorry. I'm used to being the man of honor or the bridesman or the groomsman or the best man. That's the role that I'm used to
Well,
having
now
in
you're a
weddings.
flower boy. Deal with it.
I know.
Your responsibility is just to show up on time.
I know, and it's weird. I'm used to having
Actually-
more responsibility to the point where I like it.
Okay, well, no, that's not the only responsibility, honestly, you have is showing up Thursday night, getting through the rehearsal dinner, and then Zaga's bachelor party is Thursday night. So you got to make sure he's like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
I
The
will
next
take care of
morning.
it. I will take care of it.
That's your job. And then you get to throw flowers and Smirnoffs at people.
I might not throw the Smirnoffs. That might not end that well.
I mean,
Yeah.
good. It'd be funny. I'd laugh. All right, ladies and gentlemen. With that,
All right,
I think we're going to sign off. Thank you so much for joining
edit
us.
out that shit. I swear to God.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I'll talk
Boy.
to Sago, get his opinion.
You'll talk to him. You do a little.
I'll talk to
schmoozing.
him. I'll do a little
Do a little schmoozing. Just
a little bit of the schmoozing in there.
the schmoozing. So major, so mazel.
Oh, but anywho, thank you guys so much for joining us for another episode this week of Down the Rabbit Hole. It wasn't like our typical Down the Rabbit Holes we do, but
No.
hey, you got me and Copper, so what else can you do, eh?
What else can you do? We
What
should
else?
definitely. I think for the next one that we do, we should compile things like more ahead of time,
We
to
kind
like get down
one
a
was just kinda
specific
like-
rabbit hole. Yeah,
this one we just kind of decided to hop on a mic and go from there.
that pretty much. I mean, we did go down. We did go down a couple rabbit holes there.
We did.
It's not the typical ones that y'all are used to. Sorry.
All right. Well, I will talk to you later, Cop.
All right, dude.
Everyone
Love you.
listening, we love you. Thanks for listening. I love you, Copper. You have a great
Love you too, sweetheart.
Enjoy your chicken marsala.
Enjoy your Shake Shack.
I will. Goodbye.
Oh boy.